Welcome, everyone. So glad to see those of you here in the audience, and those of you who are joining us on Facebook, welcome to you as well. As Professor Marshall said, my name is Dr. Denise Dewhurst, and I'm the moderator, so my job is very easy because you are going to be really interested in what all of our panelists have to say. We're going to start by having them briefly introduce themselves, their area of interest, where they are in their program. You'll see we have some people who are just starting out right now, and we have some people who are finished and are in the workforce. So we're going to start on my right, but your left if you're sitting in the audience or watching from Facebook, and we're going to start with Henry.
Hey there, I'm Henry Morris. This is my second semester here at Montgomery College, and I'm majoring in anthropology.
Good morning, my name is Maria Silva. I was born and raised in Peru. This is my third year in Montgomery College. I'm a general studies major, and my focus is in social science, and I want to transfer to the UMD to study economics. Hi, my name is Eva Calvin.
Hi, my name is Joel Webster. It's my fourth and last semester at Montgomery College. I'm planning to major in psychology with interest in business management and marketing, and I'm planning to go to University of Maryland College Park.
Hi, my name is Angela Blankenship. I'm at University of Maryland College Park. My major is secondary education. I'm in my senior year, and my master's starts next year with curriculum and instruction.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Herseg. I graduated from MC, transferred to University of Maryland, majored in criminal justice, and I'm now a Montgomery County police officer here in Germantown.
Don't we have an impressive group? And the first question I have for all of you is how you settled on your major, came to the point where you decide. Now, Henry, you're just starting out, so what's excited you about anthropology so far?
I just really like how it connects to society and everything that is going on in the world. You can always just connect to that from anthropology. The subject is just really awesome to learn. Just very
And Henry, had you had any prior anthropology background before starting at MC?
I had
Which reminds us all that sometimes we come to a place and we end up doing something we never thought we would do because we hadn't had the opportunity to study it.
Well, I love economics because I love math. I also love to understand human behavior and how our choices affect the welfare of everyone in our community.
And I think, Maria's here, and her sign says she's an anthropology student. I hope you all heard that she's planning on majoring when she transfers in economics. So there's a lot of overlap among all of our social sciences and our education programs.
And so for me, I actually decided on my major in the fall. So it's fairly new. I came here with the idea that I would be a major of writing. After some time here, I realized my passion is really intertwined with the holistic approach that anthropology takes. And so I decided that was going to be my focus.
I think for me, I really found my passion in psychology in high school. I had two teachers, Mr. Schwartz and Mr. Hecker. When they taught the classroom, I think how they structured, lecture and assignments and group activities, it really made me feel that they cared about the students, that what we were learning was interesting, and that made me passionate about psychology. There's a lot of generality with the major. You can do just about anything, really. So I think overall that really made me passionate about what I was doing, and I became more passionate as I entered into Montgomery College, and now.
I actually started out with business and engineering in high school, but then I took a child development class, and I was like, this is kind of more towards what I want to do, but then I realized that middle school was my passion. I always liked English, so just like going for what you really want to do is more important than like the money involved.
I came into starting classes at MC not knowing what I wanted to do, and I was looking at the list of majors, and nothing really piqued my interest, except for I saw criminal justice, and I was like, oh, that sounds like it might be interesting, so I decided to take the intro class and just kind of see what it was about, and I found it really interesting, and from there just took a few more classes and solidified it as my major. So.
And I want to encourage those of you who are watching us on Facebook to please let us know if you have questions. We're ready for them, so don't hesitate, don't be shy. And for those of you in the audience, if you have questions, please feel free to go over to the microphone that you see to my right, your left, and we'll be happy to have your questions as well. Elizabeth, can I ask you, when did you decide, you went from criminal justice, now you're a police officer. So how did that transition take place?
So I transferred to Maryland. I still didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew that I found the area of criminal justice interesting, but just really wasn't sure what I wanted to do with it. I had considered law enforcement, but I didn't really think that's what I wanted to do. I went on a ride along just to kind of see what it was like, and after that, kind of decided that it probably wasn't what I wanted to do. And I really don't know exactly what changed, but I went on a second ride along, and after that one, something just flipped and it just kind of clicked, and I just kind of thought, I think I really might enjoy this career, so I might as well go for it. And
You're
from
enjoying
there,
it?
yeah, that's great. Really am.
That's great. We have a question from one of our Facebook watchers. This is from Ava. What is your dream job after MC? What would your dream job be? So we can just go down the line. If you don't know yet, that's okay.
I was going to say you got me there. I have no clue.
That's all right. You're just starting out. So
I'm not sure yet, but I do want to work for the government. I want to help to fix or create new policies that helps minorities in specific. I'm not sure yet either. I do know that I'm looking for a creative career that allows me to use my creative writing tools and access the passion that I have for anthropology and advocate for civil rights.
Yeah, I'm also not really sure as well, but if I were to choose one, maybe off the bat, it'd probably be something in research. I'm really into industrial organizational psychology as social cognitive psychology, so something within research, maybe if it's with the government or a for-profit company, something around research.
Well, right now I'm student teaching next year, so middle school is like my main passion. That's where I want to be, and then I want to go from there and help with curriculum instruction as much as possible throughout my life.
For me, right now I'm working patrol. I don't really know where I want to go in the department from there. But I'm kind of just still figuring out what areas I might be interested in. There's a lot of different things that I'd be looking for. So.
Okay, thank you. That was a great question, Ava. And I think what we're seeing is that these are degrees and career paths, well, that lead you to a lot of career paths. It's not just one thing you can do with any of the social sciences and education degrees that we offer here at the college and programs. You can transfer into a lot of different areas. You will get all kinds of job skills. Later in the morning, you'll be able to go back to the tables where each of the disciplines has handouts for you that talk about the different career paths and skills that you would get from any one of these programs. Do we have any audience questions? Anybody here have a question? You all being shy. I have more questions. I just don't want to monopolize the time. Joel, I will tell you that one of our professors who's coming later is in an IO program. He's an IO psychologist, so you'll enjoy talking with him. That's industrial organizational psychology for those of you who are unfamiliar with it. Not all psychologists become therapists. All right, let's see what other question we have that I can answer. Okay, what have been the toughest and most rewarding parts of your education so far?
My toughest part is that I'm a bit of a procrastinator. So I like to do my work at the last minute. But the really cool thing is, you get all your work done at the last minute, and you get it back, and you see how well you did. You're like, I didn't have to stress at all. But I don't recommend procrastinating. It's a pretty bad idea.
For me, I would say language barrier was a huge struggle for me. I just have 4 years here in the United States. But the most rewarding part of being an MC was being selected to be a Renaissance Scholar. So I think that my work and study paid well. So.
For me, I would say the toughest part has been managing my school schedule with trying to gain experience and build my college resume, all the extracurriculars that they like to see, and also just to gain the experience for my own personal benefit. One of the most rewarding aspects has been having the experiences with the professors that I've come into contact with. I've been really blessed to have professors that have been willing to invest in me and see my potential and have given me the information that I wasn't able to access myself that helps provide me with even more opportunities. Like this semester, Maria and I are part of the review research scholarship program with Dr. Sprint, and it's been something that I definitely wouldn't have heard of had I not had a professor that was willing to invest in me. So.
Before we go to Joel, can you talk a little bit more about what you're doing, the two of you, as working researchers? Because that's an opportunity that you don't find everywhere, particularly for undergraduates who are in the first 2 years of their college program. So it's a wonderful opportunity.
So it's an independent study. We work along with Professor Sprint. I'm studying the Latino communities in Montgomery County, back to the 45 to 65. Since I'm an economics major, I'm focusing more on businesses in the Latino community and the approach to political advocacy.
And then I'm doing the same thing. My focus is on race and ethnic relations, specifically with Montgomery County during the same time period. So it's really interesting because we have our own independent time with Dr. Spring, and she, after having multiple conversations, she got to learn, what we were personally interested in, kind of, catered the independent study to what we would be most interested in, as well as the overall outcome being the same.
I guess a big struggle, I would say, for not just me, but a lot of people attending community colleges is that I think for the really big universities, you start to get used to, I guess, the community, and when you dorm with someone, that's like your best friend, usually, sometimes not, but I would say that the community is really there. At a community college, that can sometimes be left behind, where everyone is commuting, everyone usually works, and that's not always the case at universities, because for certain majors, you don't really have the time, but I guess for some reason at the community college level, they expect you to kind of have a balance, and sometimes I would say steps can be missed because you're trying to process everything, you're trying to get out of here as soon as possible, which shouldn't always be the case, but for most, and it seems like society is telling us that I need to get out of here as soon as possible, I need to get a degree in 4 years, and that would be getting out of here in 2 years. And I've had friends that say, I want to get my degree in 3.5 years, I want to get my degree in 3 years, which I think is a little bit, I think that's far-fetched. I think that taking your time is necessary, and that sometimes I skip steps as well because I want to take all these classes, I want to get all this done, but at the end of the day, why not just take it one assignment at a time? That's probably the most rewarding for me when you finish an assignment and you put in all that effort. You're like, wow, I've done all this research, especially for social sciences, it's a lot of research, a lot of presentations, and then your professor says, wow, yeah, you've done a good job, get A or B, whatever it is, but at the end of the day, no matter what the grade, you've done a good job, and that's really rewarding.
I think the toughest part of my education was transferring. It was difficult for me to start commuting to the University of Maryland, which, by the way, they do have a Gaithersburg bus on West Diamond Avenue, so if you do decide to go to University of Maryland College Park, it's a free bus, and it's a coach bus, so it has Wi-Fi and everything. But I just had to get used to all of the friendship that was already there in my program. But the good thing about it was that going to Montgomery College, you have small classes and you have more one-on-one time with your professor rather than just people helping. And once you get to that university, a lot of the time that I felt was rewarding by going here was that I had smaller classes there already. Everything was already education, English-based rather than prerequisites. And also just making connections when you're there. And also they have counseling. So for transfer students, in order to get them going, and they also have days where they help specifically with transfer students, so that helped me a lot.
I think for me, this is something that I know a lot of people say is difficult, but group projects, especially once I got to University of Maryland, just because I can be sort of not as strict perfectionist, but I like to make things more perfect if I can. So for me, I found that kind of difficult learning to. I think it was good for me to learn to work with other people, but a lot of times I kind of take the approach of kind of wanting to do it all myself just because I want it all under my control. So I think it was good, and that's definitely why there are group projects in classes, so you can learn to work with people. But that was something that I guess I found a little tougher. But I think the really rewarding part of education in general for me was just seeing hard work pay off, and all the time and effort that I put into it. I really saw how it paid off later. Even though at the time it can be stressful trying to put in all that time and get all your work done and do a good job, but it really pays off. So.
Okay, we have another question from Ava. Thank you so much. You're keeping us going here. And the question for the panel is, what strategies do you want to use to help the community, and what goals do you want to accomplish?
Ava, you're coming in with some really good questions, and oh my God, this mic's work was really well. So basically what I would want to try to do to help the community is like get everyone together and seeing that a problem is something that people can't be separate in solving. If we work together, we will be able to get our problems, we'll be able to put them in a list, we'll be able to say, all right, we need to do this, this, and this to solve them. It's not just everyone working separately. Being able to unite and have a shared view and understanding why everyone wants to do that is very important.
I agree with him. Recently, on one of my diets for the Renaissance scholars, we saw a video about telling a single story. So what I want to do is, as much as I can, hear everyone's story, every community, to give them a voice, to tell them everyone about their culture, their traditions, because we try or we tend to discriminate people based on what we see, but without like getting to know each one better. So I think it's a good way to understand different communities that are living together. As in Montgomery County, we have like different cultures coming together, and it's important to us to understand each and single person in order to get a better future.
I think.
Your mic is working.
Oh, okay. I think one of the strategies that I used or learned about very early on was just having conversations. I think that certain topics, even now, still tend to be taboo, and I think that just leading by example, I have found, even with my own family members, has been really beneficial to getting messages across, and kind of what Maria said, and ending that ethnocentric attitude that we often see that is kind of hush-hush. So I think really just being able to have those conversations and being an example and letting people feel comfortable with you and not being judgmental. I think that's also something that's very important with anthropology. It's something that's necessary. So it's always something that I've enjoyed seeing. I come from a very, very diverse family. So, yeah.
Yeah, I would say overall, this is a really great question. That I think that with Montgomery County being such a diverse place, Germantown ranking, I would say, I think in the top 5 in ethnic groups. I would say that really understanding and perspective, like having an understanding for other groups and other people and taking another perspective is key. That when we might look at another group or another individual and we can't see the inside of them, we can only see the outside, but really taking a second and really trying to think, well, why are they thinking this way? Why are they saying this? That can help really bring people together, and I would say that involves community events, and whatever it takes. I think that that's the keyest thing, really trying to understand another person's point of view and not just thinking, wow, I'm probably right. You have to really take a step back because everyone thinks differently, everyone's different.
I think that one reason why I went into teaching, and one of the main reasons, is to help students find their voices and help them be able to creatively write and creatively speak.
So for me, the cool thing about my job is that just on a daily basis, I am able to help people. And even in those situations where I'm not able to, I think that a lot of people will go into the job thinking that they're going to, once you actually get into it, the situations that you get into, sometimes you realize that you're not necessarily helping in the way that you thought you would be. But I think for me, the main thing that I seek to do in my job is just every interaction that I have with somebody, because nowadays the culture between the public and the police is it's getting a lot worse than it has been in the past. For me, I think that every interaction that I have with somebody, my goal is just to treat them with respect and for them to come away from that encounter with hopefully somewhat of even if it's just a small bit of a changed perception, just seeing that, there are good police officers out there who seek to respect them as an individual and be kind. Obviously, there are times where we need to just do what we have to do, but I think just on a day-to-day basis, there's so many just normal people who I'm interacting with, and I think that I'm just seeking to kind of combat that negative perception that's being put forth by so many people. At least I know that it doesn't go for everybody, but for me personally, that's what I'm seeking to do. So.
I know, but I heard in some of those answers things that echoed some of what Professors Haydel and Professor Burton were talking about earlier. We have a question from the back of the room.
Yes, my question is that since Montgomery College is very diverse, is very accepting of the many cultures, South America, North America, how do they feel that they're very, very helpful for them? Because in my case, I happen to come from Ecuador, and I feel that when I start the college, I feel very accepting for what I came from. Is how do they feel moving forward that will help them with their careers?
I'm sorry, I have really bad hearing. Can you say that last part again?
I said that because Montgomery College is a very diverse population that comes from all different cultures and all different backgrounds, how do you feel moving forward in your careers? Because in my case, I happen to have a disability, and since I started the program, I feel very accepting for who I am, very accepting of my disabilities, and I feel welcome with open arms with all the professors. How do you feel moving forward in your careers? How do you feel is?
Okay, I think what you're asking is, since Montgomery College for you has been a very welcoming place in spite of your disability and the fact that you come from another place, you're wondering how they feel this is preparing them for when they go into the workforce, or for those who are already in the workforce, how this has helped. Am I correct?
Right.
Okay,
yes.
Great.
I think Montgomery College is great because, like you said, everyone is very accepting. We are in, I think it's one of the top 3 most diverse counties in the nation entirely. So in order to be working here as a professor, you have to be very accepting. And I think the professors have done a really great job in giving that, I don't even know how to say that, but like giving the glow of, everyone should be working with each other, everyone should be accepting of one another, and everyone should be helping to push themselves forward and push everyone else forward. And I think that's really good, and I feel like it's a big part of Montgomery College.
As I mentioned before, I'm coming from Peru. So my first semester, I was in a kind of cultural shock. I didn't know what to do, where to go. So I found that counselors and professors are very approachable here, and that was very helpful. Now I feel more confident about myself, about talking, about giving my opinion. So I think MC is preparing me to go for it and to the workplace and say, this is who I am, this is what I want to do, and I'm ready for it. I'm ready to take the chances and the challenge for fight for my dreams.
I think coming to Montgomery College, and I've actually lived in Montgomery County my whole life. So I think growing up here has been a huge advantage for the career that I want to take. You know, as I said before, anthropology takes a holistic approach. So there's a lot of sub-subjects. It takes into consideration linguistics. It takes into consideration archaeology. There's a lot of things, and I think that it requires that diversity. And I think being from here and being able to come to Montgomery College has really aided in that. It's required that of me to consider all and other people. And obviously that's going to be something that is going to be very helpful in pushing me and moving me forward in my career and how I'm able to articulate that as well.
Yeah, I think that was a really good question. I think mirroring what other panelists have said, that community college and Montgomery College in particular, it's a very accepting school. I would say, backtracking from my previous statement and how sometimes everything can feel like a rush, a blur. The good thing about small campuses and a school like Montgomery College, that there's a lot of people out here that want to help you. Sometimes with big universities, it feels like you're 1 in 40,000, which it's true, you're 1 in 40,000, and that can be said for Montgomery College, but there's a lot of people that want to help. There's a lot of, whether it's faculty, whether it's a counselor, other students or peers, they want to help you. My brother actually has Down syndrome, so I know for a fact that there were people that could look down on you. There are people that might look at you differently, no matter what you are, no matter who you are. And I think that overall there are people that want to help, and that Montgomery College has given me the opportunity to really become more accepting of other people and to gain better background in my major.
I also grew up in Montgomery County, and living here has been a great advantage because it's such a progressive area, it's such a special place, and that's also what influenced me to want to teach in Montgomery County, and seeing students as individuals and helping them specifically with whatever needs that they require in the classroom, and just focusing on them. And after Montgomery College, that's why I wanted to go to University of Maryland College Park, because they have very similar connections and very similar environment in some places. So it's really helped with that transition. So I think that just figuring out where you want to go from here, like you can talk to different professors and they can help you on that track.
I grew up in Montgomery County as well, so going here, I think it was really good. Just going to a school where there was so much diversity, because now in my job, I'm still working in Montgomery County, and it's a very diverse place. Just on a daily basis, I interact with people from all kinds of different walks of life and different backgrounds and that kind of thing. So I think that it's been really good to just continue to be around that and develop that. So.
And are there any more questions at the moment from the audience? We have one right here.
I was just going to say, with all the pressure on students to take courses like STEM, pursue careers in STEM, like nursing, what benefits do you guys think there are of pursuing careers in social sciences?
Great question. Great question.
So what I really like about the social sciences is that with STEM, you're very much getting into your field and you're focusing on your field. But I feel like the social sciences, they give you a lot more variety and a lot more like choice in what you want to do in the future. So like someone who majors in math, they're going to become a mathematician or something that has to do with math. Yeah, obviously. But like someone who's doing anthropology, it's like we could go work with the community as an organizer. We could go work with the government. You could go work at a museum. I feel like there's a lot more variety, and personally, that's why I like it a little bit more.
Okay, so I'm planning to minor in math too, so I feel kind of offended. No, I'm joking. But yeah, that's true. social science gives you an understanding of why people make choices, so you can understand better a situation rather than seeing from the outside as or from the theory as mathematicians do. So yeah, social sciences give you that approach to people to understand the basis of a problem or situation, so you can deal with it from a human approach.
So I agree with what Maria said. It just really helps you understand people, and also for me, it's very rewarding. I know that it's kind of said that social sciences isn't a job that you can make a lot of money in, but it's such a broad area that you can do many things, and for me, it's just very rewarding that it's very personable. I feel like that interaction that you have, and the change that's possible, and the conversations and the research and the things that I'm learning have been really life-changing in such a small, just a semester. Because as I said, I've just decided anthropology is going to be my main area of focus in the fall. So I would say if it's something that makes you happy and it excites you, ignore those pressures. And if you are still unsure, be unsure, and keep working towards whatever you think is going to interest you.
Yeah, you guys are really brilliant questions. I think that ultimately, I think as much as I would like to promote social sciences, it goes down to a choice. If you want to do economics, if you want to do sociology, whatever it is, if you want to do like history or maybe physics, that's your choice. I think that it came down to where I said, I want to do this. I'm really passionate about it. There's so many opportunities. It's what I want to do. If you don't want to do social science, I would say follow your dreams, follow something else that you want to do. I think overall there is a lot of analytical skills that I've gained over time doing psychology and focusing in the social sciences as I've taken other classes like sociology, international relations, other classes in social sciences. So I think overall it does come down to a choice. Is it what you want to do? Now you could always also take a mix. You could integrate different majors. So maybe you want to do bio, but you want to do psych. I have a friend at UMD College Park. He's doing bio, but he's also doing psychology. So it's like the mix of social science and STEM, and that's also very fascinating too. But it comes down to a choice, and I would say there's really no pressure, even though society wants you to think that, do the job that gets you the most money. You have one life, so do what you want to do what you love.
Yeah, I mean, it's really cliche to say, but you should go where your heart is, because with me, I was going towards engineering and business just for like the money of it and just knowing that it would be like a set pay, whatever. And then I realized that I wanted to go into teaching, and that's just where there was less pressure in that. That's where my heart really wanted to be. And like he said, you only have one life, so you should really go and do what you want to do, because if you go into STEM and you don't like it, then you're not going to be happy and you're not going to put your full effort towards it. But if you like social sciences and you really thoroughly enjoy it, then that's where the most work will be put into.
Yeah, like everybody said, I think that you shouldn't just because there's a lot of pressure to go into an area, one of the STEM areas, doesn't mean that you should make that choice just because of the money or because there's pressure or everything else that's involved with that. I think that you really should do what you're passionate about, and if that means going into the social sciences, there's so many opportunities with that, and so many things that you can do with it. And if you're not sure where you want to go, you can just take different classes, kind of explore different interest areas, and figure out what you want to do. But don't really make sure that you're going for a career that's going to make you happy and not just giving into the pressure that you feel everybody else is putting on you.
Elizabeth, when you were in your path, because you're already working,
Mm-hmm.
when you were in that process of determining what you were going to do with your criminal justice degree, what other things did you consider? Did you settle on the police force right away? Did you consider some other options?
Yeah, so I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I think I had considered law enforcement and then just thought that it wasn't for me, and then changed my mind later. And that was, I was almost in my last semester school by that time. So I got pretty far into school through school without knowing what I wanted to do. But I think that for me, it really just came down to what I thought that I would enjoy and what I would be passionate about. So that was the main factor for me.
And Angela, do you have anything to add? Because you were just about to go into the workforce. You know what your path is going to be. You know you're going to be student teaching. Are you student teaching in a middle school this fall?
Yes. So, I mean, just one thing I want to say is that we need social science majors just as much as we need STEM majors. And if that's what you want to go towards, then that's perfectly fine, because we advertise so much about STEM, but on like the hidden part, we still need those social sciences majors. Not everyone can be STEM majors. There aren't enough jobs for that. We still need people in social sciences.
Any more questions from our Facebook audience? Please send them in. And I see we have a question from the floor back here.
Hi, I'm really enjoying the panel. Thank you all for your responses. I'm an anthropologist and got my PhD from the University of Maryland College Park, so it's really exciting to see how you're all, making those connections. So my question, I'm always interested to know, as you progress in your studies and your career, what issues or what are you really interested in researching, and how would you connect that to a current social issue? What do you think are the important places that social science needs to spend time thinking about?
That's a very good question. So me personally, I'm sorry. It's I guess my biggest problem with the world today is poverty. I really hate it because I think people should be a lot more equal, and I personally think the money should be spread around a lot more than it is. And I would hope that by working with anthropology, I can hope to eventually start working with the government and helping out communities that have been stricken by poverty and helping create I want to say laws and NGOs that help bring awareness and just, yeah, I'm sorry. It's not a very great answer, but I really just want to help people.
Fine answer.
So I'm planning to do more research in minorities. Right now, as I said, I'm working with Professor Spran. My plan is to develop strategies, economic strategies based on market trends to create more jobs, to help minorities, and somehow, as he mentioned, try to be equal between each other. So I think it's gonna be a good plan to do research and investigation in communities, what they need, what are the problems that they find to get better education, is the place where they live a condition for them to find a job. So I want to help them to develop more plans and jobs.
So for me, the area of anthropology that I'm most interested in is the sociocultural aspect of anthropology. The areas that I'm most interested in are race and ethnic relations and women's and gender studies. I think that as far as police brutality goes, that's something that is very well known as far as race relations goes. But what I am most interested in is the microaggressions, the things that we don't see, the things that are hard to put names on, and same thing for women's and gender studies issues. How people identify sexually or with their gender, a lot of gender fluid people, those microaggressions happen in the same way. That's something that I'm very interested in. It's, again, something that I'm learning is easier for people to understand when there's a conversation surrounding it, when there's dialogue created. So that's typically always probably going to be the strategy that I take. That's my area of interest, and my issues with that are just that there's a lot of ignorance, I would say, surrounding those things. Just a lot of lack of knowledge, really. And it leads to, it's rooted in fear, as we, said earlier with the presentations. So, that's something that I'm interested in focusing on with anthropology.
Even as a psych major, I'm going to try to connect this back to your question. I took a cultural psychology class this past fall, and I think that, I didn't mention this earlier, but a particular interest that would be something that I might like to do in the future would be to really look at different societies. And when you look at collectivism and individualism, looking at immigration particularly, especially we've talked about Montgomery County being such a diverse place that people kind of get put in the situation where they need to find a job. They're here, the American dream. At the end of the day, sometimes they're not getting the right help, and that can lead to mental illness, that can lead to poverty, because at the end of the day, people get fined, and that's really sad. It's a fact, but it's really sad, and I think that doing more research on how we can find possible solutions would be really interesting, because I really do see the connection between psychology, cultural psychology in particular, and anthropology, and the study of human societies and their development, but looking how does that affect a certain person from maybe it's Beijing, China, maybe it's down in Ecuador. I don't know, but at the end of the day, how does that affect them and their psychological processes? I think that's really interesting.
One thing that I've noticed working in Montgomery County and PG County is that the students are very much supported, minorities are supported in the books and literature that we bring into the classroom. For example, we don't read as many canons, and we try to bring in more modern books like The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas, but talking to teachers nationwide, I've noticed that we aren't doing that. So what I want to really do is work for a few years in Montgomery County or in Maryland in a place that's diverse and supports minorities, and then going out into states where we're not doing that, where maybe there are less minorities and we're only focusing on the canons, and just bring in that diversity, even if the classroom is just completely white, because we need to we need students to understand that life isn't just in that bubble, because when they go out to universities, they may see so much diversity and just be in a culture shock. So either way, we need those books.
Well, my job doesn't exactly involve research. I guess investigation is sort of has some similarities to research, but that's about the extent of it for me, I'd say.
And we have a Facebook audience question. This is from Fumi. Which class has helped you most in the pursuit of your field?
I'd say the class that's helping me the most right now is my anthropology class. It's been very helpful. It gave me into the field and understanding the basic concepts. And overall, it's a really fun class, and I enjoy taking it a lot.
Well, I took economic and anthropology classes. I think both of them helped me to understand more of the what I want to do in economics, and how these classes are related. So I also took a psychology class because at some point I thought that psychology was my passion, and then I realized, well, I love math as well, and I cannot live without it. So I went back to economics, and talking a lot with Professor Spren helped me to understand how these classes are connected, how understanding different cultures, your countries, your traditions, people behavior, all of these affects, in general, a state, a government. So yeah, my classes were very helpful.
I think for me, initially, it was a women's and gender studies class that I took with Professor Genevieve Carminati. And then this past fall, the sociocultural anthropology class that I took. Both of those courses helped tie in multiple social sciences. And that was something that was really, really important to me because, as I said before, the race and ethnic relations and then the women's and gender studies, those are things that we see in all of those forms. So that was really important to me. Also, the perspectives textbook that we were assigned for our anthropology course, I think was probably one of the most diverse textbooks that I've ever had to read for a class, and is probably the only book that I didn't skim through, read textbook that I read completely front to back. So it was probably those two courses.
Yeah, there's a lot of choices, a lot of options, especially in the social sciences. But I'd probably say the two specific concentrations, abnormal and cultural psych. I took that in spring of 2018 and the fall 2018. I took abnormal in the spring, cultural in the fall. Abnormal was a very interesting class, but found out in the fall that actually I think I'd rather do research. That's something that I'd rather pursue a little bit more. And abnormal kind of goes a little bit more to clinical and being a therapist, or maybe even a psychiatrist, a clinical psychologist. So I found out that I think research is more my passion, and cultural psychology was amazing, very fascinating, interesting class. So that taught me a lot. And Professor Bergman, who talked earlier, I mean, he's just a great professor. So really having open conversations, interesting projects, and it's kind of not a laid back class, but not a class where the structure is very strict. There's a lot of openness where you can be open and explore what you want to do. And I think that's the whole point of community college with the classes, that sometimes you just need to explore. So I think those two classes in particular, especially cultural psychology.
I think a couple of classes that really helped me would be adolescent literature and diversity in the classroom, because even though I grew up in this area, which is very progressive, there's so much more to learn about students as individuals and understanding exactly what they need and what books that we need to bring into the system, and also just understanding how to approach students on the way like their language is. Like, for example, it's not all about grammar, like we need to understand their voice, and that just really helped me.
For me, I would say it was probably the first class that I took, the Intro to Criminal Justice class, because that's what really got me interested in the field, and just kind of kickstarted the whole path that I ended up going on. And I think it just introduced me to just an overview of criminal justice in general, and I thought it was really interesting. And I think I would honestly recommend that if that's something that interests you, you check that class out, because it's a good elective. I think when I was at MC, I don't know if it's exactly the same anymore, but there was, I think, a multicultural requirement, and that class satisfied that requirement. So even if you don't end up going down that career path, it can be a good elective to take, in my opinion.
Thank you. Any more audience questions, or our Facebook audience, do you have any more questions? We still have a little bit of time left. I see one in the back of the room. Where's the microphone? You could just pass that over to that young woman.
I wanted to ask, what advice would you give to someone who's interested in being an immigration lawyer or either an international lawyer? What majors do you think would best reach that field? Would it be public policy in the University of Maryland, or maybe international relations?
I think maybe you need to hold the microphone a little bit closer. Is it on? Because we're having a little trouble hearing you up here.
So I was asking, what advice would you give someone that wants to be either an immigration lawyer or an international lawyer? Would it be majoring in public policy at the University of Maryland, or maybe studying international relations?
Does anybody want to take a stab at that?
I'm not going to lie, I don't really know 100% what direction you want to go, but I would definitely say take classes that like give you a good understanding of what's going on around the world. Definitely like I don't know if it's like the paralegal classes, but definitely stuff like the anthropology class we're talking about. Sociology would not hurt you at all. Yeah, I don't know, like it sounds like you have a really good plan already, honestly. Like you understand what you want to do and you know how to get there.
As far as classes go, there's a sociology class. It's a race and ethnic class, very, very diverse class. It talks a lot about the history, past and current law, internationally, I would say. And then also there's a civil rights course that you could take that I would say would benefit you.
Yeah, I'm not too knowledgeable about this. I would say probably public policy. I took an international relations class last semester with Professor Sook at Rockville campus, and that was very inspiring class, and that taught me a lot into the world of, I guess, international relations as it goes as its own major, but also political science, or poli-sci short. So I would say probably I would take an international relations class if you haven't. I would definitely recommend, but I'm not sure the specific path, but it seems like you have a variety of classes that you want to take, so I would follow that.
Yeah, and I've met a lot of people who have gone into law at University of Maryland, so if that's a place that you want to go, there are a lot of connections there.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different areas that have classes that could pertain to that career path. So I think, especially if you're going into law, those are going to be classes that you take after your bachelor's degree as well. So I don't think you have to worry as much about. I think it's good to get experience and just really find out information by taking all those different classes. But as far as what your bachelor's is actually in, I don't think you need to stress about that as much, because I think there's probably a lot of different majors that you could take to get you to that path. But I know even with criminal justice classes that I took, I had the opportunity to take some law classes. Like I took a civil rights class and a couple other law classes that were really good. So there's a lot there.
And I would just add, I encourage you when we're done, we have about 5 more minutes here, to visit the tables, because I think every social science professor here will tell you you can major in their particular discipline and set yourself up well for what you're talking about, the career path you want. I have a question from Erica, who's in our Facebook audience, for Elizabeth. Where do you see yourself in 5 years, and what plans might you have to continue your education?
I honestly don't know. I mean, I'm really happy with where I am now. I work patrol, which just means like I respond to calls for service, I make traffic stops. I'm not in any specific division in the department. I would like to, I do see myself in 5 years still with the Montgomery County Police. I think that's something that I definitely wanted to potentially even just take all the way to retirement. But I think that if I did go into a specialized unit, I would want to go somewhere where I'd be doing proactive police work. And sorry, what was the second half of that question?
Do you anticipate getting any further education of any kind, training or education?
For me, I finished school and I wanted to be done with school. Right now, my opinion on that has not changed. I don't see myself going for a master's degree or anything like that, but that could change in the future. I'm just really enjoying being out of school right now, though, and being employed full time. So,
thank you. I know we have about 3 minutes left, so I have one quick question for each of you. Could you tell the audience one thing you wish you had known before you started out?
Well, I'm just going to go with, when it comes to straight up schoolwork, I wish I had known there had been so much writing, because my handwriting is an absolute mess, and it's hard to read my own notes.
I would say counseling. I found counseling really helpful in order to see what plan should I go for when I want to transfer. My counselor in particular, I love her. It's Miss Ada Garcia Casellas. She was awesome, helping me go through all the universities that I could possibly go, what classes should I take. Also, professors are very approachable, so I was very shy to talk to them, to ask questions, but I found myself that they are really there for you, even via email or walking in. So that's really helpful on your first semester, just to ask as much as you can. If you don't know what to do, what to study, just ask, go for counseling. Don't be shy about it. Don't be afraid about it, because they're ready to help you.
There's a lot I wish I knew. There's a lot. For me, I'm a first-generation college student, so I didn't even know what questions to ask. But I would say I wish that I took no. I wish I didn't take no as much as I did, because a lot of the opportunities that I have been presented now have come for me very late in the game, I would say. And for me, I did take my time here. Like he was saying earlier, you're encouraged to get out of here in 2 years. I took my time and gained a lot of experience here. So yeah, just don't take no for an answer, and ask as many questions as you can. The professors here are here to invest in you. They want to invest in you, and they're looking for students to do that.
I'm assuming that most of you guys probably are interested or want to go into the social science majors, so I'm just going to say that take as many courses as possible, take a variety of courses. I think the biggest issue with students, they take a specific amount of courses for a specific major, or the one thing is if you don't take a variety of courses, you might never know that, wow, I actually wanted to do this. And that's when you backtrack and say, oh, I actually want to get another degree. I have to go back and it takes longer and longer. So take a variety of courses. That'll give you the best chance at finding something you really want to do if you're still uncertain. I'm guessing for some of you that's the case, you're still uncertain. Also maybe integrating STEM. I think that this is a social science expo, but STEM is great as well. There are a lot of majors that integrate well, and I talked about like bio and psych, but economics and psych, there's a lot. Psych and statistics, anthropology, and maybe another major. There's tons of integration. So gaining as much skills as possible through the classes that you're taking. Take a variety of courses.
One thing that I noticed with going into a bigger university is that sometimes with social science majors, they have a few tracks that you can go on, and I didn't know that when I was transferring to University of Maryland that I could, like, there were like 3 different options for becoming a teacher. Like one was double majoring in your bachelor's, another one was signing up for a program where you could not have to take the education part in your bachelor's and go into your master's, or you could do double major and master's, and I was like, whoa, that's a lot to take in when I first transferred there. So I think that just like understanding that before would have helped me a lot. So just like starting the connections as early as possible if you have time, like just going over to the university, making those connections with the professors and people there already, so you can just like shoot them an email when you need to, like just ask them any questions along the way because they're there to help you.
So for me, I didn't apply for an internship until I was going into my last semester of school. And I wish that I had applied for that sooner just because I enjoyed it so much and it was such a good experience for me. So that's something that I would recommend, is just, even if you don't even know what you want to do, like find an internship somewhere and just apply for it and try to get something where you can gain experience somewhere, just because it was just a really good experience for me, and I wish I'd done it for longer. So
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you who have watched from our Facebook audience. And remember, everyone, both on Facebook and who are here today, to follow Montgomery College on social media. Let's have a round of applause for our panelists. They did a great job.